Mom deserves the best, and there's no better place to shop for Mother's Day than Whole Foods Market. They're your destination for unbeatable savings, from premium gifts to show-stopping flowers and irresistible desserts. Start by saving 33% with Prime on all body care and candles. Then get a 15-stem bunch of tulips for just $9.99 each with Prime. Round out Mom's menu with festive rosé, irresistible berry chantilly cake, and more special treats. Come celebrate Mother's Day at Whole Foods Market.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Matt, at long last, we have a return of one of our most beloved guests, one of our most interesting guests, a guest
and
who
me.
I think,
Oh,
a guest who I feel like literally 5 seconds ago I sent a text and I thought, ooh, I may have just been a liar because I told my girlfriend about to start recording this podcast. There's no way it's going to go a full hour, but. Who knows when UHJeff is in the house? UHJeff, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
We are here to discuss Waffle King. Let's just get the one factoid out of the way because we've said it like 8 different times on the show so far. This was supposed to be on Off the Deep End. Al was afraid that I was only kidding, would be kind of outdated by the time his next album came out, so he saved it for Alapalooza, but he also released it as the B-side to Smells Like Nirvana in case there wasn't ever a next album. And here we are, Waffle King, a track that is about a guy who's become incredibly famous for something kind of stupid and starts to take himself too seriously, as Al has described it. I mean, this is basically Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer. Like, that is the song that he is pulling from hardest on this.
For
correct?
sure.
So Jeff, first of all, I think there's a strong possibility that Jeff is the single most knowledgeable guest we have ever had on the show and might ever have on the show. So I'm very happy you're here. Can you speak to, is it confirmed or is it just speculative that both Waffle King and Talk Soup both sound like they could be Peter Gabriel style parodies? And yet they are on the same album. It's just such an interesting move for Al. It feels oddly like he's hitting the same mark kind of twice.
You know what? I never actually thought about it that way, but yeah, there are definitely echoes of Peter Gabriel in both.
Yeah,
certainly.
So this
certainly,
one
this
especially
leans into it a bit more, I think.
But again, and this is, look, you know that I never like saying a disparaging word about anything tied to Al, but. This does kind of stick with what my complaints were with this album and Off the Deep End of, you've got this album in 1993 that has 2 songs that sound like Peter Gabriel, who is very much, in my mind, an 80s artist. Like,
Fair.
Sure, he had songs in the 90s, but like, in my mind, his peak is like, doing stuff with Genesis in the late 70s and then doing these solo albums that had stuff like Sledgehammer and Big Time and In Your Eyes and like all of these mid to late 80s. Like, it's just funny to me that Al held off on this song because he was afraid I Was Only Kidding would be outdated. But like, this song is just as equally kind of outdated as a source material.
But it was,
I guess
sorry,
go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say it was already outdated in the sense that it is sort of an 80s song.
Yeah.
But whereas
So
I Was Only Kidding had the Wayne's World not joke in it, which...
exactly. I love the idea. We said it before that Al thought that might become a dated reference. Not has stuck around. So it's still very much a part of our lives, which is great. But it is interesting. Okay, so he recorded Waffle King first, as we just established. Waffle King, I would say for sure, is referencing Sledgehammer.
Yes.
The biggest tell is the like that sort of like synth pan flute thing.
Yeah.
It's almost exactly what Peter Gabriel uses in Sledgehammer.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
so distinctive. You couldn't mistake that sound for anything else.
Correct.
Now, that song came out in 1986. So the fact that it was still a little bit old, but he recorded it in early 90s, that checks out. Now, Talk Soup sounds the most similar to another Peter Gabriel song called Steam. And Steam was on the album Us that came out in 1992. Oh. So that actually does kind of make sense. If Al was following Peter Gabriel, if he did Talk Soup later, he was referencing a later Peter Gabriel hit. Al has never confirmed, some style parodies, he was happy to plant his flag and be like, yes, this is definitely what I was doing. As best I could tell, he has not spoken about either of these two specifically, but it's just such a funny, both of them have such markers of what I consider to be Peter Gabriel's signature sounds and tricks and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of maybe unprecedented for him to do a style parody. We talked about you could sort of give the Beach Boys get two style parodies, one the trigger happy early Beach Boys and then the pancreas Brian Wilson songwritery stuff later.
Yeah.
But this being kind of hitting the same mark twice on a single album is pretty amazing for Al. And again, I'm speculating a little bit here, but it does feel like he's really given some love to Peter Gabriel. And you know what? I'm here for it. I love Peter Gabriel. I'm not mad about it.
It sounds like you're pretty mad.
No. Well, and based on all of the groups that we know that Al loves, right? Like we know his love of Devo, we know his love of the Talking Heads, we know his love of the B-52s. There's not a bone in my body. Yeah, there's no way that he's not diehard Gabriel. He probably only has the Peter Gabriel era Genesis albums. Like,
I don't know. I think Al probably is into Phil Collins.
I mean, who isn't?
Exactly. I think that's fine. But at this point in time, Peter Gabriel is pushing boundaries in pop music in a way that there's just no world Al is not loving and appreciating, and it's like I want to try to mirror these things. Like it makes absolute sense.
Of course,
that this would happen this way.
And Sledgehammer also featured in Polka Party, of course.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I forgot about that.
And in the UHF music video, there's a very clear reference to that.
That's right.
Well, and
that's right.
I think that's the most interesting thing about Al, and my favorite thing is we really dive deeper into his catalog and into his history, and everything is. As much as Al is this guy who, for the most part, is known as the guy who does the song parodies or that he copies the styles, he's looked at as, let's say, a musical chameleon at best. Like, I don't think that there's a human being on this planet who appreciates pushing the limitations of experimenting in the field of music as much as Al, and I don't think he gets the credit for that aspect, which is why when he has these like big songs that make like a mainstream impact, everyone seems to be like blown away that it came from Weird Al, except for like the diehard fans that are just like, you haven't been paying attention to what this man's been doing for the last 40 years. Like when White and Nerdy came out, people were like, oh my God, Weird Al can rap. And it's like, yeah, this is like his 7th rap song.
Haven't you heard Twister? Come on.
Aisle Thing? Is this lost on you? And then, of course, Amish Paradise. But
of course, yeah.
Also, half the time his polkas, he's going faster BPMs than most rappers.
Yes.
We've talked about it. His Ice Ice Baby is so fast, it's almost at like the level of Twista rapping. Like, it's insane how quick he raps that verse.
It's so good.
I mean, it's what makes it better. But this is a song that you specifically asked to do, Jeff. So we do have to ask, why Waffle King? Because when you sent me your list of song picks of the 90s, this one kind of stood out as like not what it was. One of these things is not like the others type circumstance where I'm like, oh, I can see why Jeff would want to do this one or this one, and then I'm like, Waffle King, huh?
I really like this song a lot, and I know that it does not get enough love from the fandom in general, I feel like, but like I just really like this song. I think it's great. The instrumentation is awesome. Al is sort of playing this character who's just like a run-of-the-mill jerk, as opposed to like a full-on sociopath, which we don't get to all that often. And I just enjoy it. I just think it's fascinating.
Yeah, this song is like, I love doing this show because I get to like do a deep dive on the lyrics in a way that you don't always think about this stuff in so much detail, especially not Waffle King on a bit. But looking at it, like, this is a song about like, this is like the making of a dictator. Yeah, that's what this is. Like, this guy is so good at making waffles that he is prepared to conquer the world.
He is the soup Nazi before the soup Nazi.
You called it, Jeff. I had to look it up just to make sure. And sure enough, this predates the soup Nazi. This is the waffle Nazi.
Yeah.
Waffle King is a better title. I will give him that. Definitely Waffle Nazi would have been tough. But yeah, that's the whole, like, I just love, like, you know, we've said before many times on this show, there's songs that I will, in my mind, be like, yeah, that was fine. Like, not my favorite Al, like a middle, level one. And I revisit it and, like, give it a critical listen for this show. And I'm so pleasantly surprised at how much more I love it than I remembered. And to me, this absolutely hits that mark. Like, this actually really made me laugh. I love the lyric. I love the narration and the escalation of this guy's, like, he's... First of all, the first question I have is the very first line is, "It took a lifetime, but I finally found the perfect waffle recipe." Which begs the question, how old is this guy?
Yeah.
He says it already took him a lifetime. This is the start. He is just like, I mean, if he's a king, I guess he's going to have to be significantly older and more experienced. But like, we're starting with a lifetime having gone by. That's the beginning of our story.
Yeah, he used to be a waffle joker.
Yeah. I know, right? Jester.
Jester, that's the word.
A jester of the court. Yeah, exactly. A waffle, some sort of peasant.
You know, the more we take the lineage seriously about the idea of Waffle King, all I'm thinking of is like one of the absolute best episodes of Animaniacs, which was when they went full like Groucho Marx, and it was the kingdom of Anvildonia, where it was like it was like a whole kingdom that worshipped anvils. Like, I'm just imagining a kingdom built upon waffle, like just or breakfast foods in general, and
a better kingdom I could not think of.
No, for
so
sure.
True.
It was
so
it was literally that like the king, French Toast King, was sitting on his throne for certain that he was never going to be dethroned, and then this guy out of nowhere comes up with a waffle recipe that just puts his to shame. He thought, hey, use cinnamon toast instead of regular bread, that no one would ever top his ingenuity. But like, here it is.
What do we think makes these waffles so special? I wonder.
I was going to say, this is as if, he has reinvented the waffle entirely.
These are not Eggos.
This is... No. I mean, and again, this is another, like, this pops up in a lot of Al's parody songs, or especially food ones. And I love that he gets so into food that it becomes just straight up sexual, where he is straight up, your eyes roll back and your knees get weak. You're going to lick your plate clean. Like people like these waffles so much that it is like harming their ability to do other things with their lives.
It is filthy.
It's disgusting.
Let me ask this question. If we're going to like really think about this song deeply.
Yes.
Oh, we're gonna.
There's one of two options in my mind. Mm-hmm. One option is that we have to take these lyrics absolutely literally.
Great.
And that like this man has made a waffle so good that the world has crowned him king.
Yes.
Or the other version that I think I'm more partial to is that he like worked really hard on this recipe, made it for some friends, and one of his friends was like, "It was pretty good. You're like a waffle king over there." And he just like his ego has inflated.
This is the fantasy now of him being called the Waffle King?
Astronomic levels for like what might actually just be some kind of mediocre.
Well, it's like when Anne Carroll says that her casserole is world famous.
Like he was like, I'm going to chop up some bacon and just like toss it in the batter before I put it in the pan. This is going to change everything. And like the guy's like, oh, it was really, you're like a Waffle King over there. And he's just like, you're right, I am. Like, it's like, I'm imagining like a Tim Robinson sketch. You know,
I can see that. I mean, again, that points to, and again, another classic Al trope that I love, which is the completely delusional narrator who does not understand like the reality of the world around him. That's like That's more like a King of Suede or a Velvet Elvis type guy. But this is, I mean, he would have to be really delusional because he is straight up referencing how he has been featured in People magazine.
Yeah.
how he is a level of celebrity where I love the like he doesn't have to wait in line. Your money is no good here,
Yeah, they're
sir.
not going to charge him at all. Which maybe one day we'll get him on the podcast. But I'm a big fan of this rapper Spose. Are you familiar with Spose at all?
I know Spose. Yeah.
Yeah, Spose is a great dude. But he has a song called "When I Was Broke," and the concept of that song is essentially like he's famous enough that in his small local town, since he's a local legend, like people cover his drinks and will buy him food, and it's kind of him just being like, why now when I have the money to spend? Like, why weren't you helping me when I genuinely wasn't making enough money to get food? Like, now I never have to pay for it.
That's funny. There's another, and this is also a good, this actually connects to Al in a way. There's a Ben Folds song that also is called Free Coffee. And it's about the exact same thing, about now that I'm rich, I don't have to pay for my coffee anymore. It makes no sense. And I love that. Yeah, no, that's kind of this version of, the weird, again, wow, we're really going over Al tropes, which I love because this song is hitting them all.
This is one of the most, this is like the TV tropes of Weird Al songs.
It's covering a lot because
so many of his tropes in one song.
One of my other favorite Al-isms that comes back a lot is his mockery of celebrity.
Yes.
And how much he loves to make fun of, even for himself, making fun of the notion of celebrity and how we treat people differently for these types of things. And this is absolutely that.
It's also an element of
the more famous this person gets, the worse they become.
Yeah.
Like they are. It is a downward spiral.
But it also checks off, like, in a weird box, like the celebration of the mundane that he loves to do as well. Like,
I like to
he
think
also does that thing where it's like the reverse of something like Slime Creatures, where he does one of two things, right? It's like everything's going awful in the world, but how does it personally affect him? And that's like what the song's about. Or the reverse of like his life is so incredible over like the tiniest nonsense. Like it really is checking a lot of the, if we were better at keeping track of every trope when we started this show, this would fall into like 8 categories of our tropes.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
It's easy to like imagine the guy who sang "This Is the Life" being the Waffle King as well.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the King of Suede, who seems pretty genial in comparison.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, he's
just trying to sell some suede to you, man.
He's humble.
He's a regular guy.
Yeah.
He's very, like, he's the king, but he's very humble about it.
Next door to Willie's Fun Arcade. Like, he knows his place.
He's not a suede megalomaniac like this guy is.
There's also, and I guess again, it's just because it's about a waffle recipe that he made. It, in a lot of ways, it feels like it falls into a similar category as something that we'll get to later, like lame claim to fame, where it's like, that's way more about like a minor interaction with a celebrity, but like in the grand scheme of things, making a really good waffle recipe is like someone's lame claim to fame. Like, you know what I mean? Like in any other world but Al. Like in the Al world, he is doing talk shows and maybe forgetting the words to a song on public television.
Exactly. The one quote that I have here that I found on the old the Ask Al on his website, where someone asked him specifically, "Why did you write Waffle King? There must be a story behind that." To which Al says, "Boy, you'd think so, wouldn't you?" There isn't. It's just, I just wanted to write a song about a guy who becomes incredibly famous for doing something kind of stupid, and then he starts taking himself way too seriously. And no, it's not autobiographical. Which is another great, like, again, you know, Matt Kelly, you've referenced it a few times on the show, and I love your take about the idea of "I think I'm a clone now," being some subtle Weird Al autobiography in that track, which I think is brilliant. I love the fact that Al, even in a joking way, says this is not autobiographical. A song about someone who becomes famous for doing something stupid.
If he was a different person, he could have become a maniac.
Oh, he could have absolutely. Yeah, this is a cautionary tale for Al and for all of us.
Yes.
To, you know, you gotta, remember where you came from, right?
Yeah.
Don't get caught up in the in the nonsense, in the celebrity.
Maybe
Al
when
remembers
you
his
reach
humble
the
beginnings.
big time, don't become like the Waffle King. I don't know.
Don't become like the Waffle King. Yeah, exactly.
Big time from Peter Gabriel.
Peter Gabriel, big time.
Yeah.
I was right there with you.
This is the guy
that
hit the big time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still workshopping that. Let me get back to you.
I wish that this was a more popular song in Al's catalog because, Al doesn't write a lot of song sequels. I'd love to know what Waffle King's up to, 30 years later. How's Waffle King doing? Is he still running a kingdom?
No, it ends like diabolically. Like this guy gets no comeuppance. He just gets worse and worse, and he's just like, here I am. It ends with him on the throne.
Yeah. You know what? So this is on the off shot that Al listens to just this specific episode. Who knows? I never know what episode Weird Al might. I weirdly had a dream the other night. I had a dream the other night that I met Al. I introduced myself as the host of the Weird Algorithm podcast. He's like, "Oh, I know your show," and I was like, "Oh, what do you think about it?" And he goes, "You really don't like I Want a New Duck."
Now look what you've
my
done.
Own personal hell that I would meet this person I idolized so much, and his only takeaway was how much I dislike one of his songs.
It would be very fitting and appropriate for this show that basically just almost all we do is heap praise on Al, and you grab the one. But that's how everyone is with everything, right? It's like, oh, they liked, but then they said that one thing about the.
And then he becomes the Waffle King.
But
exactly,
what I was going to say is my favorite band of all time is Five Iron Frenzy. Very goofy Christian ska band from the 90s, and they're still putting out records today. But when they were positive they were breaking up in 2004, and they stayed broken up for about 10 years, which is, sometimes like 5 years longer than most bands when they break up. But they put out a song on their last album called "And That's How the Story Ends." And the entire song was just them tying loose ends to fan favorite songs.
Oh, wow.
So they had a song called Blue Comb 78 about how when he was a little kid, his brother threw his blue comb out the window and he always wondered what happened to it. And it's like, no, I never found my blue comb. And another lyric was in reference to this joke song called These Are Not My Pants. And it was we found out those pants belong to Keith. It was just this goofy song of answering. I would love if Al decides, all right, I'm doing one last album. I would love the Weird Al's, That's How the Story Ends, where he just tells us, did the Waffle King get his comeuppance? How did we stop the slime creatures from outer space? Just real quick, just giving us the endings to all of these weird songs in his catalog.
I'm into that too, actually. That's a fun idea.
One lyric for the super fans, you have to know the deep cut songs to even get what the song is about.
Did we go back to the Twine Ball the following year?
Yeah, how many times did they see the Twine Ball after that first visit?
Great. Yeah, agreed.
What's his feelings on sauerkraut now?
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
This episode is brought to you by PwC. When unprecedented times are all the time, it's time to start walking the talk. Leaders like you turn to PwC to see and stay ahead. Upskill your workforce, use intelligent automation, and transform big ideas into breakthrough reinvention. Explore the human-led, tech-powered solutions that help you reinvent. It's all part of the new equation. Learn more at pwc.com.
At Maximum Mediocrity, people say things like,
I don't dress like this on the regular basis. This isn't my, pooping uniform. This is not what I wear.
And they also say things like,
The nurses are usually either angels of mercy or whores.
Every episode is a new experience where you get to know people that aren't famous but should be.
Why am I facing Floyd Mayweather in the
woods.
My co-host Morgan and I track down the people you didn't know you needed to hear from.
It's like hot sex in a mug.
We are the Maximum Mediocrity Podcast, and we are on all major podcasting platforms. We'll be waiting for you.
Let's see, what else do we have to dive into here with the Waffle King? I mean, we've covered the Peter Gabriel of it all.
Yeah.
We've covered that it definitely turns into an evil genius thing.
Yes.
We've covered that Jeff... So, Jeff, let me ask you this. Would you say, as the Weird Al superfan,
Mm-hmm.
and as like a person who, like, you literally created the Weird Al trivia questions, you've interacted with a handful of Weird Al fans, I would say.
Yes.
In your experience, like, if you had to say, like, what is in your mind the most unfairly disliked Al song, is this probably the one that you're going to come to like 9 times out of 10?
You know, it's funny. The one that like really comes to mind is Airline Amy. Everyone is so
We're very
mad
split on
at that
this
song.
one.
No, I know. I'm aware.
That's right. I think that's where the email started. Was you were like,
"What are you doing?"
You're like, Airline Amy's great. Just needed to email you and tell
For the
you
people
so.
listening, I have to remind myself this is an audio podcast. As soon as Jeff said that, I threw my fists in the air in victory for Airline Amy. Hashtag justice for Amy.
Yes.
This is like, I agree with you, Jeff. I actually just find it fascinating. I said it to Matt on the show, but it fascinates me that song is so divisive because it doesn't strike me that way at all.
No.
It feels just like a fun song, but
it's so fun.
I mean, the proof's in the pudding because loads of people are just perplexed by it.
And look, Airline Amy has been played live in concert. Waffle King has not.
Waffle King has not.
Which I
Waffle
also
King has
don't
not.
fully understand, but
Yeah.
that's a different conversation. I mean, I really was hoping during the Strings Attached tour with like all the instruments and the orchestras and the background singers, this would have been great.
Yeah.
I said before, it would be interesting to do like following, 2 runs of the Vanity Tour. I don't know what the future of Al touring is going to look like, but it would be great to do a parody tour again that also leaned into some of the more obscure parodies, because Lord knows there's tons of songs that like parody tracks that he has never performed live.
6 words long. Sign me up.
Oh my God, there's so many that, of course, like when he tours a record, it's the same with any artist. Like the more you build up a catalog, when you're touring on a new record, you want to play new stuff, but also the more successful you are, the more back hits you feel obligated to
we need a
perform.
4.5 hour show. Let's be honest.
We need a 4.5 hour or album shows. I mean, that would be even, or you know what else he could do that would be super fun would be like, a tour where like multiple nights and each night kind of focused on a different decade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or chunk of time for him where he could do like an 80s night and a 90s night and a 2000s night. Like that would be, oof, now we're really dreaming.
I honestly, as much as I love Al and I love the whole catalog, I would love to see Al do what a lot of bands are doing today, where it's just like, hey, it's the 40-year anniversary of In 3D, so I'm going on tour and I'm going to play In 3D from front to back.
A dream.
And then, as an encore, I'll do like 10 songs.
Yeah, like
that you
a
may
mixed
have,
bag from the rest. Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, like if Green Day can literally go on tour where they're playing all of Dookie, all of American Idiot, and still a mixed bag of other songs, there is zero reason Al couldn't do the same.
Yeah.
I still don't understand how Green Day is doing that. That seems crazy to me.
Like Dookie's like, all right, maybe that's like a 30-minute set. American Idiot's a solid hour set right
That's
there.
That's a lot of work. Lot of work. Now, I'm going to be more reasonable than that. You don't have to work that hard, Al and team, but you got to do...
Nope. I
would love an
3
excuse
full
to hear
albums
some of
per
these.
night.
3 albums a night. That's it, and then I'll go. Then you win. I'll go.
You know what? Here, they can do it. Do you remember when Less Than Jake did the Price is Right tour?
I didn't see that tour, but I knew about it.
Jeff, do you know what this Price is Right tour was?
I don't.
So their set was determined by 2 Price is Right games. And they would bring an audience member up on stage, and the first one was to spin a wheel.
Yes.
And it had all their albums on the wheel, and whatever album it landed on, they would play like 5 or 6 songs off that album. And then they also built a Plinko machine that another audience member would play Plinko, and whatever album it landed on, they would play 6 or 7 songs off of that album.
Oh my God.
And then do like 2 or 3 of the fan favorites that they like are legally required to play at every show. But it was a bummer for me because when I saw that tour, it landed on the 2 newest albums that they had released that I was not familiar with. That's the risk of when you do that type of setup.
But that is awesome.
It's really cool. Like, Al could just do a UHF games tour where you have to do like Wheel of Fish.
Who's finding the marble in the oatmeal for?
Yeah, exactly. And it's different album marbles. But I get like doing something like Waffle King Live now, 30 years after this album has come out. Like, I guess there's that risk, and this is coming from a non-musician, but Matt, you can speak on this. I feel like the biggest fear in any musician is like, let's dust off this back hit, with your hope being that like you're gonna play those first few notes and the crowd is just gonna explode with like, holy shit, we never get to hear this song. And like, if you start playing that song and the crowd goes mild, like, I feel like it's just like an energy suck of all the work that you put into like learning that song.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I would have to hope, because, you know, again, bless his heart, I remember when, I mean, it's in the name, when they first introduced the Vanity Tour, everything about it was like, we're sorry in advance. That was the whole point of the thing, was like, we are doing a thing. And of course, I mean, again, let's be like, Al knew, he said it in the original press release. I know a lot of fans have been waiting for me to do a tour like this from like album 2, you know, the earliest days that this was the thing people wanted. But still, all of the caution, the like, he knew that some people were going to show up and be disappointed. At this point, I don't think, I mean, at least the shows I saw, there wasn't that much. I'm sure there were plenty of shows where at least there were 1 or 2 people going like, he's really not going to play that. but that's, what can you do? I mean, there's no amount of promo in the world that will stop some people from being stupid.
Matt Kelly,
it's just how it goes.
Just being mad that Airline AB is being played.
Yeah. Why is he playing this?
but I would hope that if anything came from those vanity shows, it would be them understanding now that like, so much of this catalog is so beloved. Yeah. I mean, even if it's not your favorite song, like even if like Waffle King is like, oh yeah, I think that's only okay. Like if you're sitting in the crowd, you're like, oh my God, he's playing Waffle King for the first time ever.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's
who's going to be mad about that? Come on.
I mean, when I saw Green Day for the first time this year, I remember that night I was in the taxi cab taking me back to the train station to leave New York, and you and 2 other people had texted me just like in all caps, like, I can't believe you got to hear Stewart in the Avenue. They never play that song.
They never play it.
Like there's just those songs that deep cut fans just know, like, this is a special moment that you're about to witness. Like
I'm not a huge fan of Buy Me a Condo, but when he played it on that last Vanity tour, and there was a show, it might have been in New York, where he said, this is probably the last time we're going to play it. I was kind of bummed out. I was like, oh no, now I'm sad.
Well,
I don't want it, but I'll miss it somehow.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting, and we're going to get to this in a couple more albums, but like I've only seen Al live once, which is a shameful thing to say as a person who hosts a Weird Al podcast. I know. Listen, man, they're expensive shows. I did this podcast to try to get in for free. but like, you know, like that one show, which was great, he played a song that up until the point of me seeing it live, I hate it. I didn't like the song. I thought it was dumb. But then seeing Wanna Be Your Lover live, I was like, I absolutely get this song now. Like, that is a song where you can tell it was written with the intention of, this is going to be a live show spectacle.
Sure.
Yeah.
This, and if it feels weird and out of place on the album, like, so be it, because when people finally see it perform live, they're going to totally... And I think bands have those songs where they're like, the studio version of this is never going to capture what the fans are going to love when they see it live.
It's like Craigslist. Craigslist is... okay, like I don't know or love the Doors, but like it was, you know, it's a fun song. But seeing it live, I'm like, oh my, I get it.
I totally agree, Jeff.
So
the live
good.
version where he extends the classified ad and just keeps reading that, like it turns into such a good bit.
It's so good.
It's great. Yeah, no, I totally agree, because the studio version, it's not bad, but it's not like, it doesn't really speak to me that much. I feel the same way. Yeah,
I'm excited for when we get to that. I feel like there's that part. And I don't know if it was just because, like, both Straight Outta Linwood and Poodle Hat, like, didn't, you know, just, like, knock a home run quite the way that, that like, Bad Hair Day and Running with Scissors did. but that like 2010s era of Al, it's almost like a return to the like punk rock of the 80s Al, where he's just like, I don't know what the mainstream people even fucking want, so I'm just going to do what I'm most interested in doing.
Here's
now.
a song of palindromes. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Like,
Exactly.
It just becomes so much more like and I think that does tie into Waffle King, because Waffle King is in this weird way an early version of like, this one's for Al. I think that there's a reason why he hasn't played it live, and I don't think it's because he thinks it's a bad song. I think that this is literally Al writing a song to expand his musical experimentation a little bit.
I can see that. It is a beautiful song. It's a beautifully written song. The instrumentation, even without the lyrics, the like flute that kind of is peppered throughout, especially towards the end. It's just beautiful.
He also nails, I have to give credit, because again, like, if we're Peter Gabriel for a reference point, Steve J on this absolutely nails the bass sound
so good.
from Peter Gabriel records. Forgive me for being a bass dork for just 1 minute, but Peter Gabriel's bass player is this guy named Tony Levin, who also has he's a session bass player. He played with King Crimson. He's played with tons and tons of big artists over the years. And his bass sound on Sledgehammer and on those Peter Gabriel records is like one of the best sounding bass parts. Like he is just a genius bass player, and it is not easy to replicate that. Steve J's like pastiche of that bass playing is amazingly perfect.
He is so good.
I cannot give it up enough to Steve J on this one. Like it's so, the whole band, everyone did an amazing job on this track.
Yeah.
This is one of those, I said it about Frank's 2000-inch TV. I'm going to give it a credit here again too, where I think the things that make this a good style parody in some cases are so subtle. It's actually hard to even explain how brilliant it is that they've managed to get these sounds and put it all together in this way. Even the weird like dum 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 dum, like the vocal effects that like are like, it's so perfectly done. And
there's so many of those elements that you wouldn't have picked out. At least I wouldn't have picked out in the catalog of Peter Gabriel, but they're all here somehow.
They're all here. Yeah. No, this is a really, really, really great. And again, that's why I started with the Talk Soup thing, because that also has it. But I'm not I don't want to judge Talk Soup harshly, but if they are both Peter Gabriel style parodies, at least musically, this one hits the mark for me a lot more strongly. Than Talk Soup is good, but even just musically, it's not as like interesting a piece as this is. This with the horn, like everything about this is just like a top tier. Again, even just instrumental, forget about the lyrics. Like this is a great Al track.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Matt, that sounds to me like you're ready to rank the song.
I think I'm getting pretty close. I want to also mention, I love the fact that he manages to get like some of his, like when he gets mean, he gets the word peons in there.
Yeah.
It's funny. I used the word, I said peasants earlier, but peons is even better.
Yeah.
And again, the switch of how he's so excited that everyone's like, I'm your biggest fan. Folks come around the world just to shake my hand. And then after one chorus, it switches to roll out the red carpet because here I come. All you peons better scram out of my way, you worthless piece of scum.
Don't you know who I am?
Exactly. And then he's got people groveling. This is where it gets very soup Nazi. You want to buy a waffle, you're playing by my rules.
Yeah.
Which I love. That was the line that made me think of the soup Nazi and made me Google, like, which came first? Al came first.
Yep.
Great job. Go on, beg me. Let me hear you say pretty please. It's great. And then the other thing that I'm ashamed to say that I didn't notice this until I looked at the lyrics, is in there's some like interstitial, like little like extra vocal stuff in the choruses. And in the like second to last chorus, the Waffle King, hey, batter, hot on your platter.
That's a good pun.
Because hey, batter, hot on your platter. It rhymes enough that I was like, oh yeah, that's just it. And only when I saw it written down, I was like, oh, you clever. Well, real good.
Matt,
good.
You know what? It's funny. You're describing, as you're reading the lyrics, and I'm thinking of reference points, and I'm thinking of stuff that we all love. You know what came to my mind weirdly was I'm actually now getting visions of like Swan in Phantom of the Paradise. You know what I mean? Like, like just this guy who like, because when you think about the movie Phantom of the Paradise, when you really sit down and watch that movie, Swan does nothing. He doesn't write music. He doesn't sing. He doesn't perform music. Like, there's no real explanation why he's this celebrity. And he just, like, lords around the paradise as, like, a king that people are, like, bowing down to, and that he, like, holds his success over everybody's head to make them do things for him.
We've said it before on this show. Phantom of the Paradise is, if anyone listening who has not seen that movie should definitely watch it. It is. Jeff, there you go, Jeff.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Because it's obscure. Like, a lot of people haven't seen it. It predates Rocky Horror
by like 3
and
years.
you won't believe it.
Oh, really?
It's so similar. It hits so many of the marks of Rocky Horror.
It predates Rocky Horror. It predates Grease. But when they literally, it pulls so much from both of those movies that when they advertised it for the re-release, it was before there was a Grease and before there was a Rocky Horror.
Wow.
There was the Phantom of the Paradise. Because the concept is that it blends the Phantom of the Opera, Faust, the Portrait of Dorian Gray, and I think that there's a fourth one that I'm forgetting. But it's all smashed into this rock and roll musical where all the music's written by Paul Williams. And he plays the evil swan. So all the music is from the guy who wrote the music for the Muppet movie. But it's the whole concept is that he somehow controls what is popular in music in this 70s rock and roll world. And at the start of the movie, what's in is the retro era throwback to the 50s music. So everything's like 50s doo-wop, and he's trying to find the new sound, and he steals a song from this up-and-coming artist and like bastardize it into being like this kind of pre-punk rock, glam rock sound, and that he tries to kill the guy who he stole the song from, and instead he horribly disfigures him, and he vows to kill anybody who sings his song.
It's a trip. It's so
crazy.
fun.
It's
so
early
fun.
Brian De Palma. It's like his second movie. Like,
this sounds amazing.
It's incredible. And the other fun fact that I'll throw out there, the costume designer on the movie was a then unknown Sissy Spacek.
What?
Who Brian De Palma said, my next movie is going to be Carrie. You need to audition.
Oh my God.
He basically saw her and was like, you are my Carrie White. Like,
wow.
It's a great hidden gem. Yeah. And again, shockingly few people know about it. Anyone listening who doesn't know, you're forgiven, because it's remained oddly obscure considering the history. But as we know, sometimes doing it first doesn't always get you the credit.
Yes.
Yeah. Never. All right.
Never.
But Al was the first to do the Waffle King, and for that, we must rank it.
So true. So true.
I'm going to say that I do agree with you that I think that this is a better Gabriel than Talk Soup. So I'm looking at Talk Soup for a starting point here.
You definitely ranked Talk Soup a little bit higher than I did.
Yeah. Ooh. I actually think I'm going to rank Waffle King lower than I was thinking of throughout this conversation.
Oh,
which
boy.
I feel
Here
terrible because we got Waffle King superfan UHJeff on the show. But where Jeff thinks that Waffle King is the most or one of the more underappreciated Al originals, I will still go to my grave saying that Checks in the Mail is that for me. So I can't, with good conscience, put the. Oh wait, hold on a second. I am so wrong. I am playing around with Matt Milligan's list.
Oh,
how dare
you?
Sorry, okay, this is going much higher. I was like, I can't believe that Checks in the Mail is towards the bottom of my list. That's crazy. All right. So now, okay, we're moving up the ranks pretty quickly here. All right, I'm going to stop right here because I feel like we were talking about Steve J's bass lines here. I think that this is a similar vibe of I really like the instrumentation more than I maybe like the overall song. And I already referenced it once. I'm putting Waffle King right below Slime Creatures from Outer Space.
Okay.
Wow.
And right above Don't Wear Those Shoes.
And right
that is a trio of great Steve J bass playing.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's Matt Kelly's Steve J bass block. We're going to start making subsets in these rankings. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, we do have the food clusters. The food clusters are a very real thing in our list.
It's hard when you're ranking these songs, and it's like where do I put lasagna? I mean, I guess it sort of goes near Addicted to Spuds, sure, right? But Waffle King, yeah. I mean, and actually, I'm not going to put this in a food cluster, really. I'm going to put it I guess a little bit, kind of in the same ballpark as you, Matt. I'm going to put it in between I Was Only Kidding, just below I Was Only Kidding, and just above Twister.
Okay.
Which is kind of in the middle bit for me.
No need for us to go over our list.
No need to go over the whole thing. That does, but I will say that does rank it in terms of originals on this record. That ranks it pretty high amongst the originals on Alapalooza. I have to say, I think this is really, this is solid. I enjoy this a lot, and I enjoyed it a lot more on the revisit. I was.
I also like that it's one of the rare food songs that's not a parody.
True. Yeah. That is true. Not too many of those.
It's not really a food song. It's an ego song. Also,
yeah,
I guess.
And I also love that Matt, you put Waffle King. I mean, you are correct. It is lower, or is higher than most of the originals on this, but you still didn't think it was better than She Never Told Me She Was Mine, which is
that's my hot take on this record.
Yeah.
I think that is an underappreciated song.
I agree.
Actually think that song is a lot better and funnier than people give it credit for.
We sang a lot of praise on that one on our episode, both of us.
Well, I'm excited
listeners
to hear
are
it.
welcome to come and fight me on that at some point.
Well, Jeff, you've been around the block a couple times on this show. You know, I didn't even send you the rankings in advance, so I'll give you a couple minutes to just look at the state of the rankings at this moment.
Oh boy, the state of it.
This is mania. The last time I was here, I think there were like 3 songs on the guest ranking.
Yes. Oh yeah. No, it's
been a minute, Jeff.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. It's good to see you again.
Hi.
Here's an interesting question for you, Jeff. As a person who listens every week, can you follow what the hell is happening in the guest rankings portion?
I know that it's anarchy. I do know that it's anarchy, and there's
as
lot
a listener, are you just like, I don't know what's happening, but they're having fun?
I get upset.
Yeah. If the listeners can't follow it, that's probably for the best for us in terms of having to check our work constantly, because the number of times I've been like, wait, did I screw this whole thing up? I have to start over.
Listen, it's good that they can't follow it because they can go to the website, weirdoutgorithm.com.
Yep, and whatever's there is correct. Doesn't matter if you think it's wrong, you're wrong. I'm right.
Yeah, I like that. I need to. All right, so we need to place Waffle King first, right?
Yeah, I would do that first.
Okay.
I feel like that's usually the easier way to do it.
Can we scroll up a little bit?
Sure can. Also, it's weirdoutgorithm.podcast.com.
I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry, Matt. Thank you for the. Usually, I'm responsible for the website plugs.
All right. First of all, your top 5 are crazy.
I would argue 3 of them are fine. The other 2 are a little out there.
Look, no offense to the white stuff, but come on.
Yeah, I was going to say, for the listeners, our top 5 are Smells Like Nirvana, One More Minute, You Don't Love Me Anymore, Polka Your Eyes Out, and The White Stuff. Also, just keeping you listeners up to date with stuff, Eat It is still in the bottom 5 right now. Just above Taco Grande and Achy Breaky Song. But below Living with a Hernia and Still Billy Joel to me. But anyway,
madness.
Waffle King.
All right,
please.
Waffle King, I think, has to go just below, right there, just below Good Enough for Now for me.
Okay, just below Good Enough for Now. All right, now you've made some comments.
Yes,
you're able to make a move, either move something up wherever you want it or down wherever you want it. So the question is really, is there something in the bottom so egregious that you need to move that up, or is there something in the top so egregious you need to get that out of here?
See, this is where my plan comes into play. This song's just 6 words long. It needs to be in the top 5, but I fully recognize that people are going to throw it out of the top spot. So I would like to bring it up to number 4.
Okay. Right there underneath You Don't Love Me Anymore.
Yes.
You've knocked White Stuff down to 6.
I have.
Here's the other thing, Jeff. The plus that you have is that I've basically told you that you're going to be on the show for at least 4 more episodes.
He's playing a long game.
I was going to say, you can chest this out. You can be like, all right, I'm going to wait and see what happens with, say, Eat It over the next couple episodes before I come back.
There is a strategy. There is a long con going on here.
I just want to give credit to Lily Hirsch, because Lily Hirsch was the person who came on this show who was on to talk about Taco Grande. who put Taco Grande at number 1 and moved Eat It to the very bottom.
Now,
chaos.
Which she did when she didn't want to rank at all because she felt so uncomfortable with the idea of ranking. We're like, don't worry about it, it's chaos. She's like, all right, then Taco Grande number 1, put Eat It last. And I said at the time, I was like, I'm sure the next guest we have is going to move Eat It back up again, and then it just did not happen.
It has not happened.
I love what damage that she did while trying to make an innocent choice. It makes me
people were more.
What a legacy.
I mean, this is what we can say. People were more willing to get Taco Grande as far from the top as possible than they were interested in salvaging Eat It.
Someone else will salvage Eat It.
Exactly. Putting Taco Grande.
Or does everyone kind of just burn out on Eat It and they're like, you know what? Fine, fuck it. Let it sit down.
You know what? Fuck it. Let it sit down there. This song's just 6 words long. Should be in the top 5.
That's what I mean. I think people are going to fight more for their heart choices and be like,
that's it.
They're like, Eat It doesn't need to be at the top. Everybody knows it. We're not like it.
People definitely had more of an objection to Taco Grande at number 1 than Eat It at number 0 or whatever you want to call it.
That is egregious.
Well, Jeff, the last time you were on here, I believe we were just getting ready for the Kickstarter for Showgals.
Yes.
Now, I mean,
So
the
much has
Kickstarter's
happened.
been completed.
Yes.
I've been following the TikToks and the updates. Where are we in the Showgals journey, and where can the listeners continue to join you on this journey until they can see the movie themselves?
These are excellent questions. Thank you so much. We are firmly in post-production. We've just saw a cut that is about 80 minutes long, which our first pass was a little bit more than 3 hours. So we are making progress.
That is a big difference. Now, are you going to keep it at 80, or are you going to try to add some of what you cut back to beef it out more?
Yeah, we might. I think story-wise, it's working very well, and it's moving along at a nice pace, and everything's making sense. So we might beef up the performances a little bit more, just to be able to sink our teeth into those. We're having that discussion still, and we're out to the original artists at this point. So it sort of depends on how much they're willing to work with us, because those are going to be some pricey buys, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously, Al's been helping us out as much as he can, but he does not own the rights to those parodies exclusively. So, that's where we are. Showgals the movie on all the socials, and
all right.
That's where we are, and it's all very exciting.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Can't wait to see it.
Me too. Oh.
Yeah. Have you
You're probably
done
watching it?
I was going to say, many filmmakers have told us that there's a certain point where you've watched the editing process to the point that you never want to watch your movie again. How close are you to that on Showgals?
Not there quite yet, but I can see it coming. No, I have to say that our editor, Candace, she's so great. And every time we see a new cut of this, it gets elevated more and more, because now that we have the story down, she's able to play a little bit more with visuals and with style. And it's really coming together in a way that's super fun. And I can't wait to share it with everyone.
All right. Well,
wonderful.
UHJeff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
There's some word on the street that you might be back for a Bad Hair Day episode, but I know for a fact you're going to be back for an Al TV to promote the Bad Hair Day album. I've already locked that in the calendar. So
excellent.
And I should shout out that I believe Jeff was one of the earliest people to be messaging us to let us know how much we were messing up, not just watching Al TV in its entirety on archive.
Absolutely,
so
yes.
We've rectified that for all future Al TV episodes.
So much more satisfying. Much more satisfying. Yeah.
A little bit more time consuming, but much bigger reward ultimately. Sure. So thank you so much, guys. We will be back next week with the final track on Alapalooza. So stay tuned. Not.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.